So where in history has misinformation been the most prevalent? Building out a timeline for this video, we'll take a look at the 2016 election, then the 2019 coronavirus pandemic, and ending by taking a brief look at the 2020 election cycle. These events occurred recent enough where we are still feeling their impact, but also where academic researchers and scholars have had the time to study the causes and effects of how social media has impacted these events further. The term fake news, which is interchangeable with misinformation, became very popular during the campaign trail for the 2016 presidential election. This point in history is where I first became aware of misinformation within political context on mainstream media and on social media. With that, social media has perpetuated misinformation in recent years, and because of this, Near Greenberg and a group of researchers conducted a study analyzing 16,442 Twitter posts made between August 1st and December 6th of 2016 to specifically look at how many stories from fake news sources people interacted with. Their findings do suggest that fake news sources are minimal on Twitter. However, those who engage with political content by tweeting or sharing posts are more likely to be exposed to fake news sources. Overall, the authors suggest that during the 2016 election cycle, exposure to fake news sources on Twitter only affected a small population of users. Moving forward to the global pandemic, COVID-19. This was an uncertain time for many as a number of questions were left unanswered in those beginning months. Because of this, social media was a place that people relied on to stay up to date regarding information about the virus and to connect with people's experiences throughout lockdown. However, this led to swarms of misinformation being spread online as people were trying to conceptualize how this global pandemic came to be as fast as it did. In an article by Chirakrit Kittervong and others, they set out to analyze the public perceptions and attributions to COVID-19 via Twitter, utilizing hashtags that contained keywords such as COVID, corona, coronavirus, positive, test, and more, was the main search method used to find applicable posts on Twitter. Subsequently, they found 13,596 posts to analyze for this research study. The authors then go on to state that we found that tweets related to COVID-19 pandemic in non-academic contexts primarily contain unverifiable information or blatant misinformation. A prominent example of this was detailed by the authors, as an article came out attributing COVID-19 to 5G networks. Taking a look at the graphic provided in the article by Kritterwong and others, a notable percentage of people believed that there was a link between COVID-19 and 5G. However, Time magazine published an article detailing that this conspiracy theory was debunked, stating that the claims are baseless. Going on to detail how certain platforms took charge of reducing misinformation. However, Twitter was not quick to take action when it came to containing misleading information. Instead, they focused on only removing tweets that contained calls to action that were potentially harmful. By the 2020 election, social media platforms were ready to take matters into their own hands and enforce policies to reduce the spread of misinformation on their platforms and to hopefully reduce user susceptibility to interacting with misinformation. A group of researchers led by Steve Sanderson detail this public commitment that many social media platforms made leading up to the 2020 presidential election, as they made an effort to address election-related misinformation on their platforms. Twitter was a part of this commitment in 2020 alongside Facebook and Instagram. In this article, the author set out to determine how flagged tweets made by President Trump continued to spread both on and off the platform Twitter. This commitment was further detailed in an article published by The Atlantic, where it is stated that at the end of May, Twitter for the first time labeled a tweet from the President of the United States as potentially misleading. Further going on to say that after Biden won the 2020 election, more than a third of Trump's Twitter feed was plastered with warning labels and fact checks. Despite this effort, it was stated by Sanderson and others that we find that while blocking engagement on certain tweets limited their diffusion, messages we examined with warning labels spread further on Twitter than those without labels. This is visually detailed in a graphic provided in the article, and you can see that the yellow line for soft intervention, such as flagging a post, was retweeted substantially. In the next video, I will dive into why this might be by discussing how Twitter users engage and interact with misinformation on the platform.